The man who made America believe in guardian angels was haunted by the faces of those he could not save. Jimmy Stewart, beloved star of It's a Wonderful Life and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, carried a secret burden that would torment him for decades after World War II ended. In 1941, James Maitland Stewart was at the peak of his Hollywood career. His "Oh You Shucks" charm and everyman appeal had made him one of America's most cherished actors. But when Pearl Harbor was attacked, Stewart made a decision that would forever change the man behind the gentle smile. He enlisted in the Army Air Forces, determined to serve his country not as a celebrity, but as a soldier. What happened next would shatter the innocence that defined his on-screen persona. Stewart became a bomber pilot, leading dangerous missions deep into Nazi-occupied Europe. Flying B-24 Liberators over Germany, he witnessed horrors that no Hollywood script could capture. The young men under his command, boys really, looked up to him with the same trust that movie audiences had. But war is not a movie, and not every story has a happy ending. On March the 22nd, 1944, Stewart led a bombing mission to Gotha, Germany. The flak was heavy, the fighters relentless. When the smoke cleared, 3 of his squadron's planes were missing. 12 young airmen gone forever. Stewart returned to base that day forever changed. The weight of command, the responsibility for those lost lives, settled on his shoulders like a lead blanket that would never lift. But here lies the most remarkable part of Stewart's story. He never spoke of his pain. When he returned to Hollywood after the war, audiences expected the same Jimmy Stewart they had loved before. So he gave them what they wanted, burying his trauma beneath that familiar stammering delivery and boyish grin. In It's a Wonderful Life, he played George Bailey, a man shown how much his life mattered. Yet Stewart himself struggled daily with the question of whether his wartime decisions had been worth the cost. For 30 years, Stewart carried the ghosts of those 12 airmen. In quiet moments between takes, crew members would notice him staring into the distance, his famous smile replaced by a haunted expression. He suffered from what we now recognize as post-traumatic stress disorder. But in the 1950s, there was no name for his condition, no help available. Heroes were supposed to come home unchanged, victorious, and whole. The cruel irony was that America needed Jimmy Stewart to be Jimmy Stewart. In a world growing more complex and frightening, audiences craved his simple decency and moral clarity. So he continued to play the roles that made people feel safe. Even as he battled demons that only fellow combat veterans could understand, his greatest performance was not on any movie screen, but in living rooms across America, where he appeared on talk shows and variety programs. The picture of wholesome stability. Only in his final years did Stewart begin to open up about his wartime experience. The guilt had aged him, carved lines in his face that no makeup could hide. He would tell interviewers that the hardest part was not the danger he faced, but the young men he had sent to their deaths. The responsibility of command had taught him that heroism often looks nothing like what we see in the movies. James Stewart died in 1997, taking with him the full weight of his wartime burden. But perhaps his greatest gift to America was not his films, but his example of quiet courage in the face of invisible wounds. He showed us that heroes are not those who feel no fear or pain, but those who carry on despite both. In the end, George Bailey was right. Every man's life does touch so many others. Jimmy Stewart certainly did, even when he could not see it himself.
Every generation blames the one before, and all of their frustration come beating on your door. I know that I'm a prisoner to all my father held so dear. I know that I'm a hostage to all his hopes and fears. I just wish I could have told him in a living year. Crumble bits of paper filled with imperfect thought. just don't see it. He says it's perfect sense. You just can't get agreement in this present tense. We all talk a different language,